mean, I can turn on speaker view so it just shows who's talking.
All right.
You want this one?
No, we're going on.
Okay, cool. Can we hide this? Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can turn on speaker. Down here.
We're on the YouTubes.
No, we're going on. YouTube's muted.
Can we hide this?
Thank you.
There we go. Cool. What are we doing?
All right, so quitting all my applications. So just so you guys know kind of what we're doing, let's see, let's get everyone in here. We'll just kind of talk through what churches are doing for their streams, broadcasting, or what we've done so far. And then towards the end, we'll throw it to Resi to go through all of your integration with ProPresenter and such.
Cool. Sounds great.
Hello, Nick and Zach.
Hey, guys.
Did you come to heckle, Mr. Kimry?
I sure did. I've finally given up. I just went into a while back. I went into my Zoom account and just changed it to be Elevation Church because we always had to get in and change it to say Elevation Church because we use my account to do anything. So now I join a meeting and everybody's like, "Who's joining?" No, it's just me.
Just you.
It's the anonymous beaver or whatever they have with Google.
Cool.
Just so you guys know too, we'll wait a couple more minutes to get started. But just so you guys know too, we only have like those that I talked to invite in here on the Zoom call, along with Sweet Pete, because Sweet Pete has the best beard in the tech game, and
is incredibly festive.
Yeah, and he wins, I think, automatically.
Oh yeah, by default.
I feel like I've been duped. You said Christmas sweater, and I'm the only one who dressed up.
Listen, there's a reason. There's a reason. Okay, there's a reason.
Oh, is there? There's more to this.
There's more to it. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see if more people they tag us on Instagram or something. But so basically, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk here, and we're streaming it to YouTube, so that way it just goes straight to our YouTube page. So the conversation will just kind of stay between us talking and whatnot. But let's see. Is there anyone else?
Do we have everybody?
I think so. I just realized that our invite said for the 17th too on the actual Zoom. What's up, Taylor?
Hey, what's up?
Thanks for jumping in, man.
Yeah, I missed the ugly sweater memo. Sorry, guys.
It's
Unless
okay.
this will count today. This my Nike shirt will be the ugly sweater.
Sweet Pete joined. But it's not a sweater. The suit jacket.
Oh wait, is that a disqualification?
All right, we'll get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, and we're live with it now. We've been live actually on YouTube for a few minutes, but welcome guys to our tech talk for Christmas in 2020. Not like Christmas, but Christmas in 2020, because we've talked about Easter in 2020. Earlier on this year, we talked about how to broadcast for audio, video, lighting, all the things. But now we're navigating what it looks like to actually broadcast or to have a Christmas service in 2020, which looks different for all of us. So what we wanted to do is just get some friends alongside of us to talk about what's going on inside of our churches this year, and then also talk with Resi, who have a new way to stream out of ProPresenter. So if you guys are looking for a way to do your service for Christmas in a couple weeks, or you're still scratching your heads, we're hoping that we can answer that today. And just for future reference, this is going to live on our Life.Church Tech YouTube page too for anytime you want to look at it in the future. So if you heard something about the Resi deal that you want to hear, you can always go back and watch that. But you guys want to just introduce yourselves? So we'll start at the top of my list. So Paul, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yep, sounds good. Thanks. I'm Paul, one of the founders of Resi. I was a technical director at my church back in Dallas, and now just help other churches get up in streaming and to make their mission and vision more effective.
Awesome. Taylor, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hey guys, I'm Taylor Charbonneau. I'm the production director here at Passion City Church here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Nick Jones.
Yeah, Nick Jones. I'm Director of Engineering and Design at Summit Integrated. Do a lot of stuff with the Life.Church guys on most of their projects. And then before that, I was an engineering tech director at a church in Minnesota for quite a few years. Actually worked with Taylor for a few years. So good to be here.
And then last but not least, the one who has made our bank account suffer, all trying to get on his level with Traeger. Would you do the honors, Mr. Kimmery, to introduce yourself?
Zach Kimmery, technical director for Elevation Church's broadcast location here in Charlotte.
Awesome. And then the guy who has the strongest beard game in all of church production that I know of. He's been with us since the beginning of this year. He's been on every single call. Sweet Pete. Sweet Pete, where are you from? What church are you with, and what do you do?
I am the program production director at Sungrove Church in Elk Grove, California, and I just feel overdressed. I feel like there was a little bait and switch here, Matt. He said ugly sweater or Christmas garb, and I kind of went all out, and no one else on this call is wearing Christmas gear.
Sorry about it, Sweet Pete.
Here's the thing. So I just want to let you know, Sweet Pete, that I have something for you. So if you don't follow it, you should follow it, the LC Whopper on Instagram. There you go. A Whopper sticker. Keep calm and reboot. It's a staple of the team. And we also have these nice Life.Church mugs, LC Tech. So I'm going to send those to you for being on all these calls. We appreciate you guys. And I want to pick your brain too on what you're doing this year with your church. And I'm Matt Morgan. I'm one of the broadcast engineers here at Life.Church.
I am Steven. I am also a broadcast engineer. There's guests in the house.
There's more broadcast engineers.
I'm going to warm myself by the fire here. Finish off my soda from Chick-fil-A, Jesus Chicken.
That's Warren Davis. He's our fearless broadcast engineer director. And Caleb the Dragon. How do you pronounce your last name?
Darago.
That one. How do you spell that?
Darago.
Sweet. Caleb does
dragon.
He's our LD. So if you see a bunch of lasers and things from maybe a service last week,
That was all him.
He's the guy. Okay, well, we're going to jump into it. And we just want to talk about what you guys are doing this year in prep for Christmas. Are you guys all done with your recording, or are you doing services in person? Or because we aren't. We start next week, actually. But Taylor, what are you guys doing? How have you been prepping for Christmas this year? Like, what are the conversations that your team is having on what that looks like? Is anything different from earlier this year with Easter, as we've learned more about how to operate in the season? What's it look like for you guys?
Yeah, for sure. We are going to be doing what we're calling Christmas with Passion online, and it's going to be an online only thing. It's going to be a 3-hour program loop where 70 minutes or 60, 70, 80 minutes of that 3 hours will be our church gathering. So we're actually recording that next week here in Atlanta, and we're going to have people in the room for the recording, and we're going to be shooting that and making sure it's awesome. And then the rest of the 3 hours will be other programming that people really want to be able to watch. But that will then be on repeat from Christmas Eve all the way through the weekend. So people, have family over or they're busy on Christmas Eve, they can tune in and watch it on Christmas. If, they need to catch it on the 26th, they can catch it on the 26th. And then in addition to that, we're going to have actually in-person Christmas Eve gatherings here in Atlanta with very socially distanced numbers here at our church. And so there's people that get invited to that. Obviously, like the numbers come out to something crazy, like one in-person gathering last year counts to the capacity of all of our in-gathering this year. And so that won't be broadcast. That'll just be for our community here in Atlanta. But those are the two things we're doing for Christmas. We've learned a lot through COVID, and a lot of the reason we want to pre-record Christmas is just so we can get ahead of it and we don't have to have our teams thinking about broadcast and in-room experience. We can think through how do we create a safe in-room experience separate from a broadcast. So that's kind of what we're thinking. That's what we're doing.
That's very cool. Some more guys are going to jump on real quick. One is from our team, and one is another great resource over at Summit when they pop up. But that's awesome, Taylor. Yeah, that's a lot. We're doing something similar with how we're trying to navigate this.
Yeah.
Our online, we're also doing things in person right now, kind of for the Christmas Eve deal. But we're preparing to not if we need to. And so we're kind of juggling that. What's the church online experience versus what's the in-person experience? So that's awesome. That's cool insight. I'm just going to say what Brian Klein is doing since he looks like he's in the car. Brian Klein is one of our guys who is on our service and support team. He goes out to a lot of the campuses and helps them out, do whatever needs to get done AVL-wise for their campus. So that's who's here. And Andrew Starkey, would you like to introduce yourself, what you do?
Hey, I'm another one of the Summit team. I'm one of the project managers, and along with Nick and another one of our staff, Ben, we help look after all of your Life.Church needs.
Thank you, man. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, Zach, I know that you're in the middle of things right now. You're always in the middle of things. You're always doing stuff. What's it look like for you guys? Are you meeting in person yet? Have you done anything, or is it what's it been looking like?
Yeah, so we have been meeting in person. I guess I don't know, a while now. Socially distanced at most of our locations. Ballantyne on Sunday mornings for the 9:30, and a lot of the other locations have been doing a 9:30 as well. I think there are a few that are doing 11:30, but we're still capturing most of it during the week, at least the sermon portion of it, and then all the locations are doing live worship. With that, with the exception of online, playing back the worship that we captured whenever we captured the sermon. And as far as Christmas goes, we are indeed capturing it beforehand. Most of it has already been done, and it was actually done off site. And for me this year, it was a blessing because I didn't have to do anything with Christmas. So it was kind of nice for that weight to be taken away from me with everything else we've got going on with we're still doing multiple events and captures during the week here at Ballantyne, whether it's a run through or something for online or the sermon capture or various other rehearsals going on. So it's definitely a weird time to have very little involvement in Christmas for the first time in probably 10 years, even before my time on staff at Elevation. I was doing Christmas with Elevation.
Yeah,
For this year, for it to be completely different, it kind of worked out to be a blessing. But yeah, we are capturing something here at 2:30 today that I was told about this morning, and that's just kind of the life we're probably all living in right now. It's like,
that sounds very familiar.
Yeah, that was us this morning.
Yep, that's me right now building out something to make sure that the content we need to see on screen is good, especially on a week like this. It worked out where Nicole, our online producer, is stuck at home in quarantine, and so being the hands and feet here, wearing multiple hats.
Yeah, so you guys are, you do live very well on the weekends with the hosting, everything else. Is Christmas, how's that look for you guys since you recorded a lot of it off site? Are you just gonna, for people in the room, are there gonna be people in the room for
There will be for Ballantyne. Well, I know that Ballantyne's doing it. Honestly, I'm so disconnected from what the other locations are doing, but I'm assuming that they're meeting in person. But Ballantyne actually was sent the schedule today. We'll run one on the 23rd and two on the 24th. And I honestly have not seen a ton of the Christmas programming, given what it was. I know that there will still be a band in the room and all that. It won't be fully everything on screen. So yeah, still doing live in-person stuff for Christmas as well.
That's cool. That's cool to break it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we closed out our sermon tapings for 2020 about 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Or so. And it just hit me when we closed it out like that. Well, that was it.
Yeah.
So now we got the other side. We have the worship to do next week, and we got to set up for all that. But yeah, that's where we're like, I feel like we're flipped a little bit. Like we're doing more for the online, and then the in-room will be a little bit more intentional and just a little bit different in that way. So
Yeah.
if you're watching this, you'll want to see church online in their version of things too if you go to a Life.Church campus. But it's going to be cool. Let's see here. Sweet Pete, you've been a part of this for the last year, and I've heard a lot of feedback from you on just how you've implemented things, and you've sent me streams and different things like that. What's it look like for you guys? Well, first, what size church do you normally run if you aren't like in COVID season? Because you're in California, right?
Yeah, so we're in California. Our church, roughly on a Sunday morning before COVID, would do between 250 to 400, 500 in the room per service, and we would do 2 services a weekend, plus kids programming and all that.
Right.
Now that we're in COVID, we've been online solid since March, and we're doing roughly between 1,000 and 3,000 people a weekend, and that's including our 9 a.m., our 11 a.m., and a rebroadcast at 5 p.m.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's great that you're here, because I think that's probably like the majority of people who have been tuning into these things and have seen it and really reached out to a lot of our team on how to leverage things. And what going into, I think we all kind of scrambled for Easter, but now that you guys have had 6 months or so to like kind of fine tune how you stream, has there been anything different that you guys have had to do or think about and how to engage your community online special for Christmas, since maybe you're not gathering in person for all that? Like what's that been like for your team navigating that?
Yeah, so for us, Christmas looks like, actually this week is super busy for us for Christmas. We're basically tearing everything down, resetting everything up, and we're going to do, for the first time, a live worship night this Sunday at 6:30. And it's the first time we've done worship live online since March.
That's
so
awesome.
Since March, we have recorded Thursday nights. We do 2 takes of each song. We film everything, and then we edit it down Friday, Saturday. We also record the message on Thursday. And then what we do is on Sunday morning, we do live hosting. So we'll have 2 hosts that are live in our building that are interacting and engaging with our church members. We have a pre-show, we have a prayer segment, and then we have a post-show, and then we also do communion live the first Sunday of each month. So we were very fortunate when it came to COVID. We've continued to tell people, like, COVID has been a blessing for our church, because before COVID, we were already in talks for about a year about going to online, and we tried our first live stream 3 weeks before COVID hit, and we've been live ever since. So there wasn't a huge scramble when COVID hit, but of course everyone pivoted. We had to rechange how we did things, but it was a pretty decently smooth transition. And I know there's lots of churches that, once COVID hit, they then, they had to really pivot hard and go out and try to find a video system and all that. We were always doing iMag. We've been doing iMag for years in the room, and it was just a time for us to say, hey, we're going to be very intentional. We're going to go online and have an online church. And it just happened to hit at the same time.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, it's great perspective for a lot of people, and even figuring out still how to navigate all that. I do have a question, because Taylor, what all does production director cover that you have the insight on at Passion?
Yeah, so we have one production team that works on all the different expressions of Passion. So if that's gonna be Passion conferences, if that's Passion City Church here in Atlanta, we have 2 locations here. We have another church up in DC, in Washington, DC. We have a church up there. And then we also have a record label underneath our in our house called Six Steps Records and all of the production that goes along with all that. So our team gets to go do all that. So this December 31st, we have Passion 2021 coming up. Shameless plug. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It's gonna be awesome. You're gonna want to be there. But our
Nice.
team is working on that. A lot of people on this call, Nick Jones, Kimmery, a lot of people on here will be helping us out and making it happen too. But yeah, production kind of does all of those different areas here at Passion.
So what's it looked like for you guys, like when you're talking to other departments and planning for how you were going to execute Christmas? What did that process look like for you guys, that maybe someone who is scrambling still to figure out what they're going to do, for all of it to come together and say, this is how we're going, this is what we're going to do?
Yeah, for us, we really love to do everything live as much as we can. Our pastor, Pastor Louis, just is saying that things are constantly changing in the world so quickly. And when you pre-record something may change, and then you're going to be out of touch from that. If you recorded this past Wednesday, you're now Sunday and you're broadcasting things that were relevant last Wednesday, but they're not really relevant to today. So for us, we feel this very real tension of when we record that, are we sure we want to actually record it, or do we want to just elect to do it live? And so a lot of our different ministry areas have kind of been feeling that same tension. So this past week, we had a young adults Christmas broadcast. We'll have another students broadcast, and then we'll have our Christmas broadcast. And our team kind of goes in and just kind of lays out, hey, here's what we can do. What are you guys feeling? And really, that's how it's been. And it's been working really, really well. Before COVID, nothing we did was ever really broadcast online. And so we were a church that you came to in Atlanta, or you found a local Passion City church, and you could attend and be a part of it, but we didn't have an online expression. So when COVID first initially hit, we were working on it behind the scenes of, hey, how do we make sure this is awesome when we launch day one? But it really kind of kicked us off the ledge and go, well, ready or not, here we go, like a lot of churches out there. And we made the jump, and we made a lot of changes really quickly. But now every ministry area is thinking about that internally, where we didn't have any of those mechanisms before COVID. Our young adults team, our students team, our kids team, our Sunday team, nobody really thought about any of that. So this just really forced us to continue to be thinking through, how do we make this engaging? How do we make sure people are wanting to be part of this? Are things too long? Are things too short? A lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, Ryan Wager just joined us. He's on our team, and he's in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a little bit away from us over here in OKC. So for some more context, that's aside from like what your actual programming is, what Ryan and Brian do, it being service and support, they really help make sure that all the systems at campuses are 100% at places outside of our broadcast location here at Edmond. So Brian and Brian, if you guys have insight for crews that are getting ready, or maybe you are just trying to figure out, hey, what are we doing? We're adding gear, we're adding different systems into our overall room. What would you say you're telling campus pastors or worship pastors who are reaching out saying, hey, I want to add some lights, or I'm doing something a little bit different? Like, what process would you tell them to take if they're doing something maybe a little bit different? So it doesn't necessarily relate to streaming, but it's just preparation going into Christmas.
I would say being actually over prepared and give yourself plenty of time to actually make adjustments and changes on the fly, or if something's broke, just if you give yourself the time to do it, it might seem like you're kind of pulling the gun early, but if you do that, you're setting yourself up to better support. And since we are service and support, giving our teams the best knowledge ahead of time, hey, this is what we might be doing, or hey, I don't know if you guys have thought about anything different you want to do for Christmas. If you have any ideas or any ways we can help you, let us know sooner rather than later, so we actually can best help you. I just say over prepare.
Yeah.
I would tag on to that too. Keep in mind that less is more. When you're preparing for Christmas, a lot of people do big Christmas extravaganzas, and there's pyro or whatever, maybe illegal, who knows, but you know, they rent lights, they're doing lasers, there's all sorts of stuff, and that's all fun, but less is more. Simplicity is extremely powerful, and keep the reason of why you're having a Christmas service in mind, because it's easy to get over ambitious and dive in, and now you have a laser light show and no license to operate it or something like that, you know?
Disclaimer, we had a licensed professional do our laser work last weekend.
Yeah, I'm not implying anything. But no, that's the biggest thing for a lot of churches is realizing and recognizing the beauty and simplicity. And so latch onto that and find cool things that you can do that are simple, so that you are not running around like a mad person on Christmas Eve trying to just make it work.
Yeah, I think context for that too would be within the bandwidth that your team has, right? So like if you're the sweet Pete of the church and you have you as the team and some volunteers, you probably don't want to bring in the pyro and all the extra lights that you're the only one who has the knowledge of how it goes together, because and then throw streaming on top of it, and you're like, oh well, it's broke. You know, more than one thing goes, then you're being stretched pretty thin. So I think that's great insight for churches who are really like, how do I make this service impactful online, right? Because impact could be confused with something flashy in the background. So
yeah, we've definitely done stuff like that before too, where it's like, you know, you start brainstorming, like we could do this, we could bring this stuff in, we could make this huge big thing. It's like, well, we have no time. Where are we going to get the time to actually do all this type of stuff? So it happens to us too, where we have to kind of pull ourselves back a little bit sometimes. Where it's like, okay, this is going to be a ton of work that nobody has time for. It may not even work, and how much does this actually add to the experience? So it's we do that too sometimes.
Okay, let's start talking Resi. He's sitting there, he's waiting. So I promise we're going to get to it. I promise. I want to see how these guys are utilizing Resi first, and we'll talk about how we're utilizing Resi, and then we'll hand it over to you. Zach, I know you have a recording starting in like a few minutes. So how are you utilizing?
Well, they're not here yet, so we're good.
Perfect. How are you utilizing Resi like past just going to campuses? Like how are you guys utilizing it going into Christmas season?
So not currently, but we are still utilizing that for our campuses, and it's been actually really great because we're doing all these pre-records during the week and are able to still spin up events, and it just lives in the cloud for the campuses to be able to pull down whenever they're doing it. So we have whatever pre-record is, we do that, and then that's available if a campus wants to use that on Sunday. So when we do the pre-record, we send out an 8-channel file with all the various audio stuff for that. But then on Sunday morning, we still have a couple locations that cannot meet in their normal location due to COVID. And so they're only able to take a 2-channel file. So instead of them going to YouTube and just pulling it down from a computer, I'm then streaming another Resi event on Sunday morning. That's just a 2-channel, essentially what's going to online for those campuses to be able to use. So that's been great for us to be able to use Resi during the week to get an 8-channel file and have that sitting in the cloud and still be able to stream another one on Sunday morning live for those locations that cannot take that 8-channel file. It's been really great to be able to do that for us.
Awesome. Pete, are you guys utilizing Resi at all? I don't know, so I'm just asking.
We are not actually. We have some independent encoders. I would love to be able to tell you the name of those, but my cohort in crime that I work with would have all that information. But just to let people know, we are streaming to our website, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Periscope, and Instagram every Sunday morning, and we do that intentionally. We have a philosophy at our church that we want to meet people where they're at, not ask them to come to us. So if we can get on more streaming sites, we'll do it. But yeah, we are not currently using Resi, and it's funny that you ask, and that Resi is kind of like the main person for this. No, this is great. I love this. I was literally sent an email Tuesday, so 2 days ago, from someone from Resi saying, "Hey, we hear that you guys are streaming. Let's talk about this." So
See?
just
You're
shout
gonna
out to
get
Resi. We're not currently using them. I think if we went to a multi-site kind of a thing, we would definitely jump on board Resi. I know we've already talked about that. Resi is brought up quite a bit in our church. So you guys are doing a great job. Rip living as one, but well, we don't have to talk about it.
Well, you're gonna have a great demo here in like 5 minutes.
It is really cool, yeah.
Taylor, do you guys utilize Resi at all for anything?
We do. Yeah, all of our online streaming is with Resi. So if you go to passioncity.online here in Atlanta, we actually do 2 different web streams every single Sunday. Our DC location has their own gathering that's top to bottom that is broadcast via Resi. And then we have one here in Atlanta, our feed, that's also broadcast via Resi. And then we also have 2 locations in Atlanta, like I was saying. And when we're live, we'll utilize our fiber back and forth. But sometimes what we'll end up doing is decide to have one location delay by 3 to 6 minutes, just so that our worship leaders don't have to hit a clock at 0. Just when you're live, it just adds a ton of timing implications. And so last weekend and this upcoming weekend, we actually utilized the point-to-point with Resi. So our locations can scrub to whenever they're ready and hit play and go. Another thing we utilize Resi for is a point-to-point between here and our DC location. So on our DC stream, sometimes our DC location will have their own talk that is captured and recorded live. This Sunday, though, they're going to have their own programming up until the talk and then take our talk in Atlanta via Resi. So it'll go point-to-point from Atlanta to DC via Resi, and then another encoder that encodes that up to the web in DC for that. Meanwhile, we have ours in Atlanta. So we are big Resi fans. We use it a lot. And they help us make everything come to life for sure.
Nice. Very cool. Steve-O here.
Yes. Hello.
Some might call him he's our resident Resi genius. Rip living as one. He's great. He knows all the things, about all the internets, interwebs, and all those things. I don't know how many instances of web streams he actually comes up with in a week. It's pretty insane. So
a few.
Church Online.
Yep.
Switch.
Yeah, we're doing youth ministry. Occasionally, our kids ministry will utilize that, and then all of our
Resi, I think we have a problem.
This is not hosted by Resi.
There's just gonna comment like these. Well, they're out. It's I'll shoot Matt a text quick and see what happened. I think what they were getting at is we use Resi a whole lot for everything we can.
Hopefully Matt's just still talking away.
Oh, I'm sure.
There we go. There we
go.
I'm sure.
There's the camera.
I'm full of engineers and the camera goes down.
Yeah. But the stream stayed up. We aren't using Resi, but it did say.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. We were talking about what we do, and then
we use
broke.
it for some stuff. Facebook, YouTube, our youth ministry.
Man, it really doesn't like the camera doesn't like children or something. Anytime he talks about youth ministry, they go away.
Paul, I feel like they're about to toss to you. I just have a feeling. Stand by.
There we go. We're working it out.
We can see you. We just can't hear you now.
Need some audio.
Listen.
Have you rebooted?
You hear me now? Hello?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, perfect. You know what? Why do anything fancy when the old Mac is fine?
Hey, you know what works great on MacBooks?
What?
ProPresenter.
ProPresenter does work great on MacBooks. This seems like a great time to let somebody else talk.
That's as far as I got into that segue there, so I don't know where we're going.
Yes. So let's talk about how you can utilize Resi with ProPresenter. And is there a specific type of ProPresenter that you need? Being a version?
Yeah, anything over 7.3. That'll work.
Nice. So how's it work? Can you give us a demo? Show us how that goes for folks who might not know anything about this yet.
Yeah, totally. So I have just a couple of things for. I love it that Sweet Pete talked about, mixing pre-recorded and live content into their live stream, and that's really what the integration with ProPresenter and Resi is allowing the smaller churches to be able to do more affordably without having to have more complex setup. So you can have a local or even a remote presenter come into ProPresenter with an SDI input or an HDMI input or even NDI via Skype very easily. And then you can mix that with pre-recorded videos. And certainly everybody knows the motion graphics capabilities of ProPresenter. So it's really allowing ProPresenter to act as a switcher for video sources, graphic sources, pre-recorded files, and then being able to output that program feed, that produced feed to Resi. And if you're not familiar with Resi, Resi's built around a protocol that basically ensures that 100% of video is going to be transmitted from your local encoder, or in this case, ProPresenter, to the cloud. So there's never going to be frame drops. There's never going to be lost audio. It's going to be frame accurate video all the way to the cloud and all the way to your end viewers. And so you're not running into blips that usually happen with the ups and the downs of the internet as the data traverses. That doesn't happen with Resi. There's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about too with computers. So when you're providing your own computers to run ProPresenter and act as a switcher, there's a couple of things that I'd just like to highlight here. Specifically comparing, what you're going to get out of a desktop versus a laptop. And so for a desktop, you're roughly going to get about 2 times the power or the amount of horsepower or CPU power, GPU power for the same price as a laptop. You're going to get about twice as much. So whereas you're going to spend $1,000 on a desktop that can do, X, Y, and Z, you're going to pay, $1,800 to $2,000 for a laptop that can do X, Y, and Z, because they're trying to get that form factor a lot smaller. There's a lot more technical challenges. So it's something to keep in mind when you're looking at what computer am I going to get to run my ProPresenter as a switcher. And also you can add PCIe or PCI cards to a desktop really easily. So right here is an example of a Blackmagic Decklink Duo 2, which gives you 4 1080p 60 inputs or outputs in a single card, and it also has a reference input. And so you can just put that one card in a desktop and get 4 inputs and outputs, which is really nice. A laptop obviously is going to be way more portable. And so that's nice if you're on the go a lot. But you're going to have to use, if you're trying to get video input, an uncompressed video feed input like an SDI or HDMI feed, you're going to have to use a USB adapter or a Thunderbolt adapter or something like that. And here's a picture of a Elgato Camlink 4K. That's giving you one input, but USB isn't as reliable as an input-output device as a PCI card would be. So that's something to keep in mind. It could fall out easily, and there's also shared bandwidth among other devices that you have connected when you're plugging into a USB port, whereas this PCI gives you full dedicated bandwidth and you're not going to have any interruptions. And then you also have to watch out. It's funny you talk about MacBooks being a good computer to run ProPresenter. I actually, from my recent experience, I would have to a little bit disagree, because I have a 2020 8-core MacBook, and it seems that Apple didn't put enough thought into cooling that CPU, that 8-core.
Yes.
So whenever you put so much power on it, whenever you're putting it under load.
People, but yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, you see the clock speed just drop, and so it's like I have 8 cores, but now my 8 cores, which are supposed to be operating at 2.5 gigahertz, are now operating at like 1 gigahertz because it can't cool enough. So it's important to also consider, like, even if you go buy the most expensive laptop that has the fastest CPU, you may not be able to leverage that CPU unless the engineers behind whoever created that put engineering into cooling it, which is something that I've run into recently. So there's just those things to consider when you're looking at desktops or laptop. Last night, in preparation for this, I realized our studio didn't have a computer that was good enough to run ProPresenter, or that we wanted to have a dedicated machine. So I actually went out to Micro Center, which is just a computer store that's in Denver. I know they have them in Dallas and some other cities. And I bought this PowerSpec B745. It was PowerSpec is a brand made by Micro Center. So they warranty it and you get your service done. I'm not a salesperson for Micro Center by any means, but I bought this 8-core, 3.8 gigahertz desktop with 16 gigs of RAM, a terabyte SSD, and for $900, I threw a dedicated graphics card in there, a 1050 Ti, and a Decklink Duo 2. And for $1,500, I have an encoding machine that's going to be way powerful enough to run ProPresenter, switch between different video feeds, and and it's a cheap cost. So those are some things just to consider there.
That's awesome.
Over to what you were asking for, the ProPresenter. So I installed ProPresenter on this desktop here, and I just kind of gave a quick setup. This is a very bare bones, very minimum. So if you're trying to get up and streaming for Christmas and you're interested in doing it maybe via ProPresenter and you're going to go buy a machine, here's just a very quick workflow that combines some of the things that we've already talked about, some graphics inputs, some live inputs, and then pre-recorded and mixes them together. The only thing I've done here that I won't show the setup for is just configuring Resi on the back end. So if I open my capture settings in ProPresenter, you can see my destination is Resi. So I already have a Resi account. You can sign up online. There's a whole automated process you can go through. You don't have to talk to anybody if you don't want to. And then once you're signed up for a plan, you come into ProPresenter and configure your destination to be Resi. You sign in and you add ProPresenter as an encoder. And so then you can stream from ProPresenter to Resi's cloud, and Resi's cloud will push to your website, to Facebook, to YouTube, wherever you're trying to go. And so here I'm going to stream at 720p 30, and I'm just going to close that for now. But when you're in your workflow of, let's say it's Sunday morning, you got motion graphics pulled up and you're ready to go live, and certainly you'd want to be testing this a lot, you get a countdown going, and then once you're ready to get going out to the web, I'm just going to go click here and start streaming. So at this point, everything that is done in our screens here or our presentation is going to be streamed out to the cloud and then onto your other destinations. So that's just one click you can do. You can also pre-schedule that. So if you wanted to put this on a schedule and say, I don't want to deal with this on Christmas morning or whenever you're trying to stream, you can actually schedule in advance through Resi's website, and ProPresenter will start streaming automatically. You don't have to do anything. You just tell your volunteers, say, hey, make sure we're on loops or whatever before this time, because at this time, ProPresenter is automatically going to start streaming to our web. So you want to make sure you do that. So here I have my countdown, and let's say it's Sunday morning still, and your countdown expires and you're ready to get started. So I have a video feed here that's coming in via the Decklink Duo, and you can actually see it in program feed would be the feed coming into that computer. And I've layered that. You can do picture-in-picture. You can do multiple feeds. You can bring in a Skype call via NDI and do a remote presenter and a local SDI feed side by side. You can use this as a compositing picture, but really what you're doing here, and I think Sweet Pete, you talked about this, is you have a live welcome. So your campus pastor is saying, hey guys, thanks so much for joining. This is what the service is going to look like. If you're trying to get connected, here's what you can do locally. We're going to do communion today. Go grab some elements, go grab some bread and crackers and wine, and so that you can participate with us live later on in the service, stuff like that. Really great to have a live feed coming in and being able to do that live. And then whenever you're ready for the welcome to be done, you go ahead and switch on to maybe some pre-recorded content. And so here I've got a feed that's just a pre-recorded worship. Actually, this is going to be Red Rocks playing one of Elevation's songs. They gave us this content to use. But anyway, you can have some pre-recorded worship going on. And then once that's done, you can move on to the sermon. And so you've got your sermon playing, your message playing, and then all of that kind of brings up to you to the end of the service. And maybe you want to go live or just have a slide that shows at the very end. And so that's really what the ProPresenter side looks like. And what does it look like on the web? Let me just switch back over to my events here. I can see that my web event here is live streaming from ProPresenter, and I can pull that up and I can look, and it's going to play right away. This is an embed feed which you could take on your website, and we also have this Facebook feed right here. So I'm just pushing to those two right now. I'm pushing to an embed code which you can put on your church online page, and I'm also streaming to Facebook. And I can click it here and view it on Facebook, and you can share that. And you can set all sorts of privacy settings when you're testing, so you don't have to, so you can test ahead of time, not go live. You can keep it unpublished. But essentially, that's what it looks like from the control side and the video streaming side.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's super cool.
When we heard that, we were super pumped about what the future could look like and what you guys have in store as well, for more things to come. That
it was very exciting, because I know, especially I'm probably, all of us, I'm sure Paul, you got this too a lot back in March, April of this year. Tons of people just emails and phone calls of like, hey, we need to do online, and how do we do this? And it was, because pretty much everyone runs ProPresenter these days. I don't know that I've ever found someone who either hasn't heard of ProPresenter or doesn't actually use ProPresenter. So it's like super easy to just be like, oh yeah, just go sign up for a Resi account, done. Which back earlier this year it was like, okay, well, what do you have? You have this computer, okay, get OBS. Okay, now you need, I guess, do YouTube or look at these other things, that sort of stuff. So it makes that whole process like super easy and super streamlined, which is very exciting.
And I've been trying to figure out this camera thing for a second, so
Cameras are hard.
We do this for a living. But so say that you're the smaller church and you're like, okay, I have Pro 7. What do I really need? Like what? So Camlink, I have this fun little box right here.
Actually, we're using one right now, which is probably why.
I think it has more to do with the camera, but Camlinks are great, an easy solution. But say I have ProPresenter 7, what do I really need to just make it happen? Before it was you would buy a license or something to add like extended screen or different things like that. So what's it look like now with Pro 7 and being able to stream? Is it similar? What's that look like?
Yeah, I mean, last night my setup was really straightforward. There in Pro 7 and forward, there's no more purchased modules. So you get ProPresenter and everything is included. So you don't have to have any different streaming modules. The setup, what it looked like for me was to install that capture card for you. It'd be the Camlink, did you say it was? Mm-hmm. So you use that, plug that into your computer, get the drivers for that, device. And then in ProPresenter, you go into your video input section and you add that as an input into ProPresenter. And then you can either take that as a full screen. You can almost use you can set up keyboard commands to take, say you have one or two, you can switch between them with your keyboard as a switcher would, or you can add them to a slide and do some layering, some drop shadows. But really the whole process is, download ProPresenter, get your Resi account, sign up, and then configure it as a destination, get your video input setting, and then click start streaming. And you can set up your destination so that with one click you stream to wherever it is you're trying to stream. So it might be a YouTube channel, a Facebook, an embed code. You can actually do that with one click to all of those destinations, and it will push from Resi's cloud.
That's awesome.
That's super cool. Yeah.
So high level overview for us on our side. How are you setting up the stream utilizing Resi for all the services that are input? How many services do we run Church Online in 1 week?
I don't remember.
It's a lot.
There's a few in there. Yeah. What's great is it's mostly all automated, which is fantastic.
How do you automate it? What do you use? What do you do?
A lot of it we do through Resi. We use Resi to automate a lot of like our Facebook and our YouTube streams and all of our youth content. Matt will tell you, I was actually legitimately excited about this. Like I told everybody about this. Is we started doing our youth when school started back. We started doing our youth services because we took a break off for summer. We started doing youth services. We started doing them online, which was kind of a new thing for us. We kind of did like some stuff online before, but we wanted to do like an actual legit like online youth experience. And so we wanted to do our first service was going to be actually live, and then we just wanted to replay that a few days throughout the week. I think like on Saturday and Sunday and like Tuesday or something like that. So I was like super excited. So I go in there and we have several Resi encoders. So go in there and like set up all the stuff, set it to go actually live on like Wednesdays, and have that like replay and do like a sim live for the other things, and have it all. The whole thing can just all be automated. I was so excited to be like, I don't have to do any, like it's literally, it goes live automatically, and then it replays automatically, and it just does that every week, and I don't have to touch it. I was very excited about that. That's the kind of stuff that makes me excited.
So Resi kind of like saves us having to have more people here. Like
it's as far as the whole streaming process of all of that, it's literally just make sure that video and audio is getting to the encoder, and that's it. Everything else is like fully automated, which is like it's super cool. You guys probably remember this too. Like even just like 10 years ago, like. It was because streaming video was like kind of a thing like 10 years ago, but it was way more of a manual process. I mean, it still is a lot of manual process like today, like even doing like YouTube and stuff like that, it's still kind of manual. But anytime you can automate stuff to that level is like, it makes me excited.
So if you haven't figured it out, we utilize Resi to its fullest. And the other two guys who've been here on my screen, they're in the same on your screen if you're watching on YouTube. The Summit guys, they're really awesome. They help us out a ton with what we do. And so Andrew Starkey or Nick, If somebody is watching this now and they're like, I would love to do these things that they're talking about, I don't know who to talk to, or I know a fella and he set me up and that's not working. Nick and Andrew are a great resource to that over at Summit. But what would you guys tell people who are new into 2020 and technology of, like we talked from our side, what it looks like kind of going into Christmas and being prepared for things. What do you think from your side that you see a lot of questions come from when they're prepping themselves to maybe stream for the first time or something? Either one of you.
Yeah, I think the thing that I would say is just making sure that you're prepping enough on the front end, like somebody else said earlier. It's that piece of, have you tested every component? Have you thought it through to give yourself the flexibility? Because there's likelihood that programming or whatever is going to change on you, and that's probably maybe or maybe not out of your control. But from the technical side, making sure that you've put things through its paces, thought through how you can be flexible so that you can respond and be flexible with whatever your team's vision is for something. I'd say something's going to go wrong no matter what. So it's maybe not for sure, but what are you doing to put yourself in a spot to respond when you're in those kind of situations, even whether it's your camera not working in the middle of a Zoom call or having redundancy and having options. I mean, that's a big thing that we've done with you guys is just even talk through redundancies. Even if they're not necessarily like hot live redundancies, but knowing what your backup plan is and having a backup plan just in case you need it, I think is a big piece to set yourself up for success. You can easily maybe jump to something else, but in that moment where you have no other options, that's really not a fun place to sit and be. So anything you can do to prepare definitely takes your pressure down a little bit in the moment.
Yeah, and I think the other side, I agree completely. I think the other side is just knowing that, it doesn't have to be this exorbitant, expensive, this insane setup. Like, know that. I mean, we have a mantra here at Summit. It's like, gear follows vision, right? So knowing what your vision is, knowing what the heart of your pastor is, knowing what the heart of your church is and what you want to do there, like being able to, understand better what you have, I feel like is often one of the first things that is really powerful for a lot of people who are looking at streaming is first understand, hey, what do you have? Like, what do you have in your hand right now? Cool, that's great. Now let's look at like, where are the gaps between there and how we want to get to, your vision and what you have. And so, don't discredit what you have, as much as it would be awesome to have Furio and Fujinon lenses and stuff, which I love. I think it's fantastic. Like, that might not necessarily be the thing that's gonna have the biggest impact, for your church and your congregation. So, I would just say that, like, just, understand what you have, be like sometimes just communicating with leadership and having those conversations and trying to get out of their head, like, hey, where's the win for us? Man, I feel like it starts there. And from, that point, that's where we can really start, digging into like all the other pieces and, what else do you need to kind of fill out that vision and fill out that picture?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that nails it. I think it's like what Ryan was saying, within your context, do what you can. But I think that's why we wanted to do this talk with Resi was just almost every church has ProPresenter. You have the main tool to take all the guesswork out of it, get a camera and a cam link, and you for a couple $100 less than you can be streaming and doing something. You don't need to do a big elaborate stage setup. You could have a camera 5 feet away from you. Just make sure to have an adequate power supply for the camera because it might die on you. And you can be up and running and you can reach people literally however creative you are to get your stuff out there. But it could literally be on the web in a matter of minutes. And I will also say, Starkey, when you say like the hot of the pasta, it like has this really soothing, I feel that.
Oh man, yeah.
We want to make sure that the hot of the pasta is just really going through the vision. And that's just, it's excellent. So good. It just makes me feel good. I'm so glad that's on the web to live forever now.
Yeah, that's nice.
Fantastic.
Well, we love you, dude. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for joining. Oh, hold on, wait. We can't end this. Zach Kim, are you still there? I know you said you were there, but you were running around.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
You're okay, Zach. I need a 15-second, your best holiday Traeger recipe or go-to.
Give me 1 second. Hit this transition.
Hit that transition. Do it. We're going to wait until we get this. Look at that headset he has, too. Mr. Warren Davis, if you're watching this, you see what Zach Kimmery has on his head right here? We'd love to talk about those. We think they'd be a great addition to our team, and that we effectively communicate super well with them. You see he has in-ears in, and actually that would isolate any nonsense going around us. We would never miss a cue.
Well, thank you for joining us for this message. We trust that God has spoken to you right where you are. If you'd like to begin partnering with us financially or give to the year-end favor offering, we'd invite you to head over to elevationchurch.org/favor. Once on that page, you'll see a couple options to begin giving.
Transition made.
Maybe you haven't begun.
Fun fact, listening to Coco keep you from home.
Start by
there's
placing
that.
God first in the area of your finances.
That's awesome. Okay, your go-to Traeger recipe.
What is it?
Pulled pork all day.
That's tithing. We'd encourage you to
Any special holiday?
Any already tithe? We'd encourage you to join us and give to the year-end favor offering. You can click on that.
You just put that thing on there and let it go. We're going to finally try a ham next weekend, though. As long as So obviously at this point, everybody probably knows Nicole and Nate are dating. Nate has COVID, so as long as his taste comes back by next Saturday, we're going to do our little Christmas get together and cook a ham because we've been talking about it for like 2 years, and it was our plan. And of course, now he can't taste anything. So as long as his taste comes back, we're going to do a ham. If his taste doesn't come back, we'll probably order some pizza.
I did the ham. Well, I didn't like to the fullest, but I did the ham. It was delicious.
Thanks for joining us.
Nice. Yeah, we're excited. Just hope that we can do it.
Awesome. Well, and Sweet Pete, waiting for that holiday run.
I think that's good. I just want to see something.
But hey, thank you guys so much. Huge thank you, Paul, for jumping on and doing that demo and showing everyone what you would need and what your recommendations would be. I know that we just kind of scratch our head sometimes what the best thing to do is, and I think that answers a ton of questions for people. So for each of you guys who took an hour out of your time today or out of your day to just jump on and talk with us, it's been great catching up and seeing all of you guys. Yes. I hope you guys all have fantastic Christmas experiences or services. And Paul, thanks again, man. I hope you guys continue to kill it. And there's some things that we still I can't wait for what the future holds with you guys, because I know that it's gonna be great. And selfishly, it's gonna be great for us and many other churches out there.
Good stuff coming. Thanks, guys, for having us and hosting. It was really great to hang out and chat with all you guys. I love the insight that I heard all over across.
Thanks, man. Summit, thank you guys for jumping on. For the rest of our team, thank you guys for taking some time out to do it. Sweet Pete, I got a mug coming your way, man.
You killed it, Sweet Pete.
And you, man. Letting the beard fly. All right, guys, have a great one. We will talk to y'all soon.
Thanks. See ya.